Welcome back, subscribers, and welcome new viewers. All right, I want to thank each and every one of you subscribers who have subscribed to my channel, and all of you who like and share my videos, because this gets out all of my information on this channel. It allows it to circulate even farther and farther to more and more of everyone just like you who are seeking this information. So thank you so very much. And today this is going to be number 14 viewer request, and it's for North Node in the 3rd house, South Node in the 9th house. Okay, so let's get started. Okay. These nodes represent a karma in relationships. The individual is here to learn how to fit the intertwinings of people and ideas into the scope of his understanding. The 9th house South Node shows an accent on growth in former lives. Literally millions of hours of thought were spent on developing an abundance of wisdom. Much was sacrificed to do this, particularly the enjoyment of meaningful relationships with others. So that a large amount of soul growth could be accomplished, a freedom to explore without restriction or limitation had to be developed first. Now in the current life, the individual is habitually linked to his past incarnation sense of freedom, which although he feels he must retain, he can no longer consciously remember why. From time to time, he feels a wanderlust to visit different horizons, for somewhere off in the distance is the rainbow he is used to seeking. He is a mental nomad, constantly traveling through the great expanse of his consciousness, stopping only for rest at each oasis, which offers temporary shelter from his restless urge. Always he is seeking, yet it is difficult for him to define exactly what he is looking for. He finds others puzzling as he curiously tries to understand what makes them tick. Herein are some of his major karmic lessons. He must learn how to interact with people. Though he may be happily married or involved in some close relationships, he still retains a sense of bachelorhood in his thoughts. He must learn how to make his life fit into the exact puzzle slot allowed by all the other lives around him. The ways in which he relates and communicates will constantly be put through one test after another. Ultimately, he will find himself enmeshed in a network of people, so that all the knowledge he has acquired in previous lifetimes can be put to practical use. In his current life relationships, he feels frustrated with not enough room to move. This enclosure of people around him eventually comes to extinguish his past life tendencies to be vague and evasive, and in its place teaches him the art of pinpoint communication. He is very much concerned with the values of sexuality, feeling obliged to conquer any grip this force has on him. Now he sees clearly the presence of a higher and a lower self, and it is the pull from both, which he must karmically wrestle out. The individual is less concerned with gain than with protection against loss. He is terribly fearful of losing the freedom he is accustomed to in past incarnations, yet he must risk such loss if he is to interact with humanity. As soon as he is willing to take this risk, he is ready to receive his greatest rewards. Ultimately, he elevates himself through reading and purposeful study, and although he is more used to informal ways of learning, it will be a formal education that now puts it all together for him. This nodal position often causes a friction marriage, since the individual is prone to seeking out of wedlock relationships in which to work out the understanding of personality and interactions that he must develop. One of his biggest lessons is to learn how to consolidate his energies for each time he feels the urgency to move on with things. He tends to leave loose ends scattered behind him. His life is wide in scope, not only in areas of knowledge, but also in the myriad of people he meets and the multitude of places he travels. He will ultimately be known as a messenger, bringing to all those who need it the specific bits of information that, like manna from heaven, are placed in their lap at the moment of hunger. That is absolutely beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. In essence, he is a teacher's teacher. For although he has little patience with the classroom situation, he is well capable of feeding information wherever and whenever it's needed. He likes doing this because it fulfills his past life need for movement. As such, he never gets a chance to see how important the information he is disseminating actually is. Nevertheless, he has an enormous effect on the awareness of all those whose lives he touches. His own life is as interesting and full as an encyclopedia, for he tries to live much of what he reads about. For all of his movement, one would think him desirous of having a rest, but underneath he is highly nervous and needs this amount of movement in his life. I'm going to read that over. That seems like it's pretty significant. For all of his movement, one would think him desirous of having a rest, but underneath he is highly nervous and needs this amount of movement in his life. The nervousness is not to be considered a negative trait, but rather as part of his mission. Okay. It reminds him that he has a task to do. Every moment, a piece of information comes into his mind. The nervousness gets triggered, reminding him that he must deliver it somewhere. Wow. That makes sense. And now, you knowing this, those of you who are listening, who obviously have this part of your north and south node, now you can consciously know where this nervousness comes from. That is really cool. That is really cool. So then you can figure out where you must go or who you must give that information to that needs it. Wow, that's really wonderful. In past incarnations, he avoided conclusions. Now he refuses to make a final judgment on anything. This is part of his understanding that if he were to make a final decision, it would be premature, for he knows that new information will constantly be coming. That is absolutely true. He is superficially conversant in almost all areas. Still, on the personal plane, he is highly misunderstood, for the messages he delivers are so uniquely disguised that they have a tendency to go over the heads of others who only see him as eternal gossiping about nothing. Excuse me. Let me read that sentence over again. I apologize. I didn't read it properly. He is superficially conversant. Okay, no. Still, on the personal plane, he is highly misunderstood, for the messages he delivers are so uniquely disguised that they have a tendency to go over the heads of others who only see him as eternally gossiping about nothing. Okay, so I get it. All right. So yes, unfortunately, you are misunderstood and seen as only to those that don't understand what you're trying to tell them, that you are eternally gossiping, and that's not true. Gossiping about nothing, which is not true. The truth is that all of his words are important, but they must be seen to have deeper than surface value before they can be interpreted properly. He is truly the fast-winged messenger of the gods. The sign which contains the south node indicates the unintelligible ways in which the independent higher mind is accustomed to receiving its coded information. The sign which contains the north node shows the ways in which the individual can now translate his knowledge into a language which society can understand and accept. Ah, that's your mission. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so that you're eternally gossiping about nothing, you are working through that process of how to deliver the message so that those that you know, and figuring out who needs the message and how to deliver it properly so that they can understand it. Those individuals, because everybody's different and your messages are going to be different to every individual, and they're going to be on a different level, all of them. And so you are to figure out, and you have the ability to do this, how to present that message specifically, personally, to each individual that is needing each of those individual messages that you are receiving, so that it's understandable to them. You tell them in a way so that they can understand it properly. According to whatever level of understanding, of maturity that they are on currently. That is very, very beautiful. That is very beautiful. And I'm getting that, so when you get those nervous promptings from a specific, whatever information you are receiving, and then you give it to that proper person, I'm assuming, or I'm guessing, that that nervousness will then go away. That'd be very interesting. So any of you out there who understand this and you have done this already in the past, and that has happened, if that's true, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear that, if that did in fact stop that nervousness, then once you were able to deliver that message to that person properly. That's very, very cool. Okay, well, that's all for that part. So if any of you would like this in written copy form, send me an email, and then I will return that to that email that you give me. Okay, so that's all I have for now. Until next time, bye.